So, with that, let's get into today. First thing is, ceci n'est pas une tomate, right? The French, ceci n'est pas une tomate, right? What it says in French to all you non-French speakers, one, get some class. It's French. Come on. Listen to Michel Thomas. There you go. There's a whole thing. Michel Thomas will teach you how to speak French. Or you can just talk in a French accent. Oui, monsieur, mon petit pigeon de la vie. And just super impress people with French. German, not so much. Hallo, mein Schatz. Wie geht es dir denn? Not as good as, ja, tu es mon petit pigeon de la vie. Oh, mon petit pigeon de l'amour. So, anyway, ceci n'est pas une tomate means this is not a tomato. And it's true, right? Because it isn't a tomato, it's a picture of tomato. While that's pretty heady and philosophical, I think a more grounded concept would be to say that a tomato is not a vegetable. Hopefully you all knew that, right? Did you know that? Did you know that before? Tomatoes are not vegetables. They're fruit. A tomato is a fruit. This is a truth. What we would call one of those true justified beliefs. Tomato is a fruit is truth, right? But the truth that has far more reaching implications is that it's not just tomatoes that are fruit. The truth is there's no such thing as vegetable. I tied that into the link. The term vegetable doesn't exist. They're all just plants. When we're talking botany, they're all just plants. So that picture could actually say, ceci n'est pas un légume. And it would still be that funny thing we refer to as true or truth. Why? Because this is not a vegetable. Un légume. Also truth. So, let's get into vegetables and truth, and then how the hell that applies to society. A tale of vegetables. Because you may say, well, that's all well and good, and a fun fact for your dinner parties. Oh, wait. You can't have those right now, right? No dinner parties. For your lockdown Zoom chats? I don't know. But what does that have to do with ethics, politics, and society? Well, just because facts and data support the claim that vegetable doesn't exist, in terms of the field of study, botany itself, where we should be gaining this information, just because those facts don't care about your feelings, does that put everything at a full stop? Do we, from this point on, cease to use the word vegetable? Are you going to be at home and your mom's going to say, no Fortnites or PUBGs for you, no Animal Crossings till you finish your vegetables? Are you going to be like, guess what, Mom? Look what I learned in ethics today. Vegetables don't exist. Boom! I'm out. It's time for Animal Crossing. Or whatever. I don't know. No, right? We won't cease to use the word vegetable. No. Or as Paul says, by no means, right? You see, because there's a lot more to society than just facts and data. There's a collective. There's mutual agreed upon concepts that bring us together. We still use vegetables as a culinary term to make sure that we don't make a god-awfully terrible fruit salad, right? Because nobody's going to be like, the fruity bird, schmirty bird, and cut up tomatoes or jalapenos and put them in your delightful. Well, that actually might sound pretty good. Like a mix of the sweet and savory might be good. But you wouldn't, yeah, jalapeno, now I'm just rethinking, jalapenos in a fruit salad might actually really be delicious. Anyway, but that's the thing, right? It's the joke, philosophy, what we do with all of that, right? Philosophy wonders whether or not salsa is just a fruit salad. So any of you philosophers out there, that's what it is. But the bigger thing, there is no such thing as vegetable. However, we still use it. That's society for us. We still use, vegetable is the equivalent that we still use, or society is the equivalent of the fact that we still use vegetables as a culinary term, period. Even if they don't truly exist, even if the facts don't matter, we disregard facts all the time, right? We disregard them. So, here's where, before we get into anything and how that ends up playing in a whole part of society and all of that stuff, before we even get into music videos and all of those things, what I want you to think about is a number of different questions. For one, what is the difference between a society, a government, and like politics or an economic system? So let's say that society, government and politics, and an economic system. Are they something that is cohesively a whole? Can you do away with an economic system and still maintain the ideals of a society? Can a society shift ideals? Who does a government, what ought the government to serve? Does the government serve society, or does the government serve the economic system? If the shifts of a society and its cultures and values change, should the society change to fit what's already established? We could call that the status quo. Or should the government and the economic system change to fit the society and the society's shift in cultural values? Should we be upset when the invisible hand of the market starts showing that what's profitable is more leftist progressive thoughts? And so then you get tech companies banning certain statements, or you get NASCAR banning the Confederate flag. Fun fact, speaking of Confederacy, do you know gay marriage has been legalized longer than the Confederacy was around? Just a little, speaking of another one of those Zoom dinner parties for you, another fun fact for you. We've had gay marriage legal longer than the Confederacy was even a thing. So, you know, if you want to fly a flag for winners, I feel like the rainbow flag should be the one you're flying as opposed to the Confederate flag, because, you know, it's about winners. We don't give participation trophies to losers. So, anyway, point is, cultural shifts and dynamics. How do those things play out? How do we look at how those things are shaped? And then where do you fit into it? I would say that if I put them on a whiteboard, society, government and politics, and then economic systems, the two ought to serve the one. Society can simply be defined as a group of non-homogeneous, all right, not the same individuals together working for some similar goal or purpose. You know, America, the melting pot, right? So, how does this function? Does the society serve the whims of the government? And does society serve the whims of an economic system? Or should those two other things follow the whims of the society. So again, if society's culture and values change, should the government and things follow suit? These are these questions that, being an introduction into political philosophy, is just the kind of standard thing. We're deconstructing not just government issues, but sociological issues from a philosophical standpoint. So if you've taken a sociology class, or you are currently taking one, or you know that field of study with sociology, we're talking about looking at descriptive, because that's the difference. Society and sociology is a descriptive study. It's looks at how things are, right? Philosophy asks, is that all? Yeah, but why are these things the way they are? Not just here's the prescription, here's what description. It's a prescription. Why are these things, and could they get better? Should we get better? So to look at sociological issues in a philosophical lens, and then ethically to look at them in a should or ought lens. What is the right that we as a society should be striving after? So, before we even get into any of that, we still have to bridge the divide between personal ethics and social ethics, I should say. Right? We brought up the concept of the shopping cart theory, right? Do you put the shopping cart back or don't you? And why not? And I argued that, yeah, you may see some outlying carts, but what's your focus? The outlying carts or the predominance of carts in the rack? When you go out now and you see someone not wearing a mask, do you focus on the individuals who don't wear masks, or the ones that do, that the majority do? And you can be like, they're all sheeple. All right. So then let's go back to the shopping cart theory. Majority still follow that. And from a philosophical and ethical perspective, the things that we're getting into mind here now are the systemic issues involved with the shopping cart theory. Because when we started this and I brought it up at the beginning of the semester, what I brought up was the personal factors. What you see is personally, majority of people put them back. Okay. So at least we have a baseline understanding of majority of people are good and they don't need regulations. You don't get arrested for not putting the cart back. You may get publicly shamed, but even then it doesn't really matter. People aren't. So we've covered that personal thing, and spending this front half of the semester really delving into, okay, so why do you put the shopping cart back? Egoism, divine command theory, does God say, because thou shalt put the cart back, right? Utilitarianism. What are your personal ethics? Why do you put the cart back? Now we need to focus on that whole system itself, because maybe there is an answer and a reason for why the carts that don't get put back don't get put back. And they might just line up with grander, more complex things we can talk about for society, crime, etc., any sort of divergence, because not putting the cart back is a divergence, right? Is some sort of being divergent from the norm. So any divergence in the system, in a culture, in a society, well, if we can deconstruct something like shopping cart, then we can do the same thing for a society. So Do you know to put the cart back? Is part of the reason that you put the cart back because you know to do so? And would you conceive that if you never knew to put the cart back, if you were never taught put the cart back, could you conceive that you wouldn't know what to do with the cart, right? That you would walk up to the store and be like, oh, this cart looks really helpful to shop in, and maybe like intuitively pick up. You're seeing other people with carts that have groceries in them and things like that, and you're like, man, I've been trying to carry them this whole time. This is great. So you do that. If you were never taught to put the cart back, could you conceive that you wouldn't put the cart back? See, now we're getting into education. If you have your kids with you, and I'm going to say more than one kid because the more you have, trust me, the more challenging it gets to try and wrangle putting groceries into the back of your car or vehicle and then wrangling up your kids to get them in a car seat while putting a cart back, because you don't really want to just leave your kids buckled in the car or just leave them alone while you take the cart, but you also trying to wrangle that cart and then wrangle them and then the groceries. It's all a mess, right? So what if there were not enough carts? Have you ever been to a parking lot where there was not enough cart kiosks, not enough little things to take the carts back to in the parking lot, where you look around in the aisle that you're parked in and the nearest one is like 3 lanes away, 3 aisles, parking aisles away? Can that impact a limited amount of aid to aid in your right action of putting the cart back, right? Oftentimes we see them because they're way in the back, right? Way at the end of the parking lot. There's no kiosks back there either. So we see them just kind of sitting there. Maybe someone parked all the way in the back and the thought of walking the cart all the way back, right? You've got potential educational issues. You've got limited opportunity to do right issues. You've got possible malinstruction. You could go into, hey, what if somebody takes your cart from you? Then that's somebody aiding. You technically didn't take the cart to a kiosk, because what if a fellow shopper was like, are you done with this? Here, I'll take it off your hands, and that way you don't have to worry about it. Well, now you've got codependency, but not in a bad way. You've got mutual aid, right? Helping and assisting each other. So now we have multiple reasonings why that shopping cart doesn't get back to the kiosk or the store. And a philosopher would say, well then, how could that change getting the carts? Wow, that's quite a start to that afternoon special. For access to the full video, or to get the full course, or just support me making new content that has everything or nothing to do with what you just watched, head on over to my Patreon, link in the bio. Join the community. I'd love to see you there and have you become a part of something bigger than me, but something where I can play my part just the same. See you there.